I came directly to Florida from Hungary when I was 2. I had uncles who lived in South Florida. So, so they sort of semi-sponsored us because I came over in 1939. I was the first female circuit judge, the first female chief judge, the first female chair of the entire conference, circuit judge conference. So I broke a lot of glass ceilings. Yeah. There is no woman, I don't believe, in this earth who has not had, I should say, no woman in a professional capacity who has not had her share of, quote, incidences, close quote, who has not had to field comments, snide and otherwise, sometimes sexual. A lot of issues occur to us females who break glass ceilings. Not just lawyers, women engineers, women entrepreneurs, every woman who has ever held her place in a, quote, man's world, close quote. You have to learn how to field these incidences. I first started out, my father, who was, by the way, a male chauvinist, said to me once when I was getting ready to go to law school, he said, "Don't let anyone talk you out of this. Every woman needs to have a bread in her hands." And I took that to mean, and I think he meant it this way, you have to learn to support yourself. You have to learn to take care of yourself. You can't lean on a man. And that was a very important lesson to me at the beginning. My husband, of course, has always been very supportive. That's been very helpful. And even Judge Ferris, I don't know whether you all remember Judge Ferris, but he was a chief judge 2 before me, and he was very helpful. He would lead me through things, and he would say, well, so-and-so is going to say this, you know, don't let it get to you. And he was just a wonderful mentor. The funniest experience was when I first went on the bench. They had a robing ceremony. They had a lovely robing ceremony. And my husband was the one who slipped the robe over my shoulders. And as he did so, he said, "It's nice to be kissing the other end for a change." Some of the experiences that I had to plow through. For example, I wanted to be on the bench for a long time, but every time I applied to the all-male commission, I never got out of committee. And finally one day I said to the chair of the committee, I said, "Am I ever going to get out of the committee? Are you telling me now that this is the 4th time I've been passed over? Are you telling me now that I just better give it up?" And he said, "Oh, you'll get your turn, you'll get your turn." At which point I turned around and I said to my husband, "I'm going to run for this. I'll never get out of this committee. I've got to run." And that's how I got on the bench. A lot of times women have the tendency to be intimidated, and I think that's a big mistake. I'm not saying go out and get ready to punch the next guy who asks you a question or makes a comment, but I think you have to get a seat at the table. You know, there comes a time when you have to stand up and say, "I'm sorry, I won't do it." When I was first interviewed for a position, a law position, right out of law school, they asked me if I could type. I can't type, and I don't want to learn how to type. Of course, that was long before computers, when everyone has to type. But I was so insulted, I was so angry that they would never ask, at that time, they would never have asked a man if they could type. I came home one day from shopping experience. I was already on the bench. And I had bought myself a very expensive blouse, name brand blouse. And I went to hang it in the closet. My daughter said, "Oh, what is it like to have name brand this?" And I turned to her without thinking, obviously without thinking, and I said, "Oh, Carrie, you're going to have to marry a very rich man." And she looked at me and she said, "Why, Mommy? Why can't I earn it myself?" And I was so ashamed that male chauvinism pops through at unexpected times, ingrained, almost embedded in your childhood. You've got to tear yourself away from that.